Hello, this is Justin Kroner with the GROWMARK FS My Field Analytics team, and I'm here to talk a little bit about Smart Firmer today. So what we have here is an actual Smart Firmer installed in this planter, and you can see here with it lifted, the little sensor inside the side of the firmer here. So as that goes through the furrow, that's detecting a lot of different things as far as organic matter, soil moisture in the furrow, the cleanliness of the furrow as far as trash being in there. It's also taking some metrics as far as soil temperature and that sort of thing. So that's good as far as those top 5 factors as far as planting in proper soil conditions. It also gives the ability to collect that data. So now we can make some maps out of that of organic matter zones throughout the field, or gauge our moisture or our yield based on moisture, yield based on trash in the furrow, that sort of thing. And then the next step to that whole link is controls on the machine. So this planter here actually is, if you can see up in here, has a V drive meter. There we go. And so eventually you could set the parameters for this Smart Firmer to detect the amount of organic matter in there. And as that organic matter varies, it can control the population that it is planting. Okay, we've got our Gen 2 Precision Planting 2020. And I just wanted to show you a few things on the Smart Firmer here. Of course, we've got the planter lifted and actually have it backed into a shed because it's raining. But so some of the things that were added as far as with the Smart Firmer, some of these different metrics here. So we have some metrics as far as our furrow moisture in our different rows that we have our Smart Firmer installed on. This is a 12-row planter, so we have it at this point set on 4 different rows. Our furrow cleanliness, the uniform furrow, and organic matter controls, we have that disabled, but that's where we could link up our V drive, I assume for the variable rate planting on the fly. We also have some metrics as far as our organic matter here, our CEC, and our furrow temperature. So we can see some variation as far as our different rows that we have it installed on here at the moment. But we're showing an overall average of about 71.4 degrees right now. So all good stuff as far as just being in the field and making some determinations as far as good planting conditions. The next layer that we're looking at here is the cleanliness of the furrow, let's call it. The furrow trash detection of that, the visual aspect of that Smart Firmer going through that furrow and taking a look and see if there's any trash in it as well. So I'm going to really zoom in here because this was a 12-row planter with 4 of the Smart Firmers actually on it. So you'll get not specifically every row, but a good overall view of that furrow. And you can see that when you get down there, there is a fair amount of trash in that furrow. Precision Planting recommends 95% or above as far as that furrow. And for the most part, when we look at this, we do have some of that here. We actually have 98% spots, what I would call threshold of 90 to 98 areas. But also some 82 to 90. So it might be a case as if you're in the planter looking at this and you're getting readings like that, an opportunity to take those row cleaners and adjust some of that pressure on those to get yourself a cleaner path for that planting unit to go through there. Or if you don't have row cleaners on there, it might be a good return on investment exercise to look at some of this data and make a decision as far as adding those to the planter. So we're here now after planting using our FieldView cab app through Climate. to take a look at some of the data captured by the smart firmer system. So starting out here, we've got this is our CEC layer that was actually produced from the planter from the smart firmers. And we'll switch over here and also look at organic matter. So just to do some comparisons, I wanted to see if this was actual reality. And I went back and I pulled my soil samples from the last time this field was sampled, and organic matter across this field was recorded in at 2.4. And it's fairly close to what's coming from the readings from the smart firmers, which range from 2.2 to, let's say, 2.8. So very close to reality. Interesting enough, I noticed when I looked at this particular field, this distinct line at the bottom of the field where it goes from very low to a higher area. So I started to look at what would have caused that. And that, let me turn off my layer here. And once I just look at the straight background, was actually a piece of the field that was in hay for several years. And this was the first time that piece of that field was burnt down and planted into corn combined with the rest of the field itself. So you can see that distinct line of that hay field that's been there for years. And then if we pull back up our organic matter layer, you can actually see pretty distinctly where that line is in that field. So let me pull up a side-by-side here. So this information is very powerful and important for a couple different reasons. From the precision farming aspect, this is the type of information that we could use and put into zones for a zone management program. So say we take the organic matter, we put it into zones, and we can soil sample based on that organic matter and manage that field based on those organic matter zones for our variable rate application. From the planter aspect, this planter is actually equipped with V-Drive. So row by row population control, we can set some parameters for our organic matter or our CEC through the field, and we could change our population rates based on the level of organic matter that we're seeing through our smart firmers on the fly. So doing some variable rate application of seed there. The next thing that we're looking at here is actually our soil moisture. And more talk about getting that seed into proper moisture so that you get a good even germination throughout the field. And you see that there might be some issues here, and hopefully in some future videos we'll go out with this particular planter and we'll mark some of these areas where we have more moisture compared to less moisture and gauge that emergence out of the ground. But so future plans for planter upgrades, Precision Planting has come out with their smart depth system, where now that you know this data, as far as we've got these areas in yellow that have more moisture, might be a matter of on the fly with the planter getting a good going a little bit deeper on some of these rows that it might be a little bit less moisture, so that you're not so much looking at a steady depth as far as that seed, but actually using sensors and data on the planter, or what the planter is giving us, to adjust that depth so that we get the same amount of moisture with every seed to get that even emergence at the same time without a delay waiting on a rain to kickstart that process. Other layers in here, soil temperature. So important. I mean, this one looks pretty good. Most of that looks like it's in that 60 to 65 or 55 to 60 range. Let's see here. Planting date, May 21st is when it was planted. So Not a lot there as far as getting down into those cold temperatures, but just, you know, with those top 5 factors as far as growing a top crop, you want to make sure that you get good soil temperature to plant into, and this being on there is a good indicator that when you lower that planter and you start to get those really cold temperatures, well, wait a minute, this might not be the day or the right field to be planting into before I get some catastrophic losses there. This one actually looks pretty darn good as far as what I can see throughout the whole field. Maybe dipping down into the 45 range on some of these passes in some of these shady spots, but overall pretty good. And so that wraps up just taking a look at the Smart Firmer itself and some of the data that you get out of there. Hopefully here in the future we'll do some more videos examining some of that data a little more deeper as far as some management type decisions that you can make with it, and some upgrade decisions as far as the planter, where we can put this into a system that makes that planter do some really neat things as far as detecting issues and adjusting to it on the fly. So if you have any questions or interested in talking further about it, please reach out to your local GROWMARK FS location. I'll be happy to get you in the right direction and get you some information. Thank you.